everyone, it's Carissa, and I am so excited to be here creating with the new Studio Calico Wink Wink Stationery Kit. Now, the last time I designed with one of the Studio Calico kits, it was a card kit, and they have done some changing here. They've now changed it over to a stationery kit. I really love this concept, and I'm showing you just a few of the things that come with it. That is the little card that shows you kind of what colors coordinate. And the stationery kit now comes with pre-made cards and envelopes, as well as some embellishments and those sorts of things. Now, I don't have everything because when they sent these out to us, they didn't have everything in the warehouse yet, but this shows you kind of a good idea of the kinds of things that are going to come in it. And today I'm going to take this stationery kit and show you 4 different ways that you can add handmade touches to these pre-made cards. So there was all the cards. It also comes with some tags as well as some lunchbox notes that you can use. I believe there's also some twine that comes in it, but don't quote me on this. I will have the link to the Wink Wink stationery kit below in the description at YouTube as well as over at my blog, and you can kind of check out all the things that come over it. I'll also have a link where you can subscribe. So these little lunchbox notes are something that you can throw in your kid's lunchbox and just kind of sign them on the back, love mom type thing, and really make it easy. So now let's get into the creating. I'm going to take these 4 note cards. These are all A2 size note cards, but I'm going to add a handmade touch to all of them. So we're going to do something a little bit different to each one. And the first one we're going to work on is this kind of landscape sepia toned card here. So when I looked at this card, I thought it would be really fun to add kind of a watercolor effect to this card. Maybe add some blue to the sea, a little green to the hill. I don't want to add color all over the entire card, but I do want to add touches of color here and there. So I'm starting out with some Studio Calico Color Theory inks, and I have my water brush here. I'm using the Something Blue and the Glass Slipper here, and I'm kind of mixing them together. I want the color to be a little more intense at the edge of the water and kind of work into a lighter color towards the middle. And the key thing to this is that you really don't want to use a whole lot of water because this is not a watercolor paper. This is just kind of a standard, really nice heavyweight cardstock, but it's really not meant to hold up to water. So you can see here I'm just adding some color in there. I kind of skipped ahead here so that I didn't bore you, but I'm just kind of dragging the color into the center and, like I said, making it a little more intense at the outer portion of the water and a little bit lighter towards the inner portion of the water. So once I got that sea colored the way that I wanted to add a little bit of green to the hills. And so I'm taking the Limelight ink and adding it to kind of that upper furthest back mountain there on the left. And then for the one that's more forward, I am going to mix some of this Yes Peas and then the Limelight ink as well. Once again, using very little water, and I'm going to add some color to that more that mountain that's more in the front. Now, maybe if I would have thought about it, the darker one should have been in the back. I don't know. I don't care, quite honestly, but I just thought this was a fun way to kind of do a handmade touch on this card. Now, I wanted to make this water sparkle just a little bit, so I am taking my Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen and I am going all over this, and it's very hard to pick it up in the video, but the sparkle that it gives on the water in real life is really beautiful. And finally, for the color, I'm just going to add a little bit of the Well Red Color Theory ink to that little ship that's there, and then I finished it off with some sequins. So the first way to add a handmade touch would be to add some color. You can use any color medium that you want. I just happen to do a watercolor technique here. And now we're going to move on to this card here, and it says, congratulations, you tied that, and then it has that kind of little star pattern there and a couple little dots on the side kind of as guides. And I'm just taking my paper piercer and piercing those through because I am going to tie some twine there. Pretty obvious here. Congratulations, you tied the knot. If you are creative, you might be able to think of another sentiment that might go with that, but I'm not, so I'm doing the obvious here. I'm adding some twine, but that is not the way that I'm going to show you to add a little personalization. Adding twine is a great way to do it, and it is one of the ones that I mention over at my blog because I list a few more than what I actually did here. So if you want to see some more ideas for adding some handmade touches to pre-made cards, you can go ahead and check out my coordinating blog post. So I've just used a floss threader and taken that twine through those holes, tied my little knot there. I'm also going to add a little sentiment using my Dymo label maker. So I'm just using this to spell out the word not, and I'm going to attach that on there using a little foam adhesive. But for this card, I wanted to show you that you could personalize it also by adding some patterned paper. Now, I am not necessarily using patterned papers on this, but I am using a Tim Holtz gold metallic cardstock, and then also some black licorice cardstock from Basil. And the way I'm going to add this on here is I am just going to cut off a little portion along the bottom of the front of this card. And this is not a new technique by any means, but this is a fun way that you can add some more color or pattern or texture to a simple pre-made card like this. So you see I have my little piece of Tim Holtz metallic gold cardstock. I'm cutting a really tiny sliver of this Basil black licorice cardstock, and I'm going to attach them to the inside of the card. So I'm just running a little tape runner adhesive along the front inside of that card, and then I'm going to position my pattern paper where I want it so that it lines up with the bottom of the card base, and then I'm just going to close that to position that there. And that's just going to give me a fun little gold detail along the bottom of this pre-made card. And then to attach that little sliver of black cardstock, I'm just going to use a little liquid adhesive and position that, and then I can trim off the excess. So I didn't necessarily use a quote unquote pattern paper here, but you can kind of see where I'm going with this. You could add some little banner shapes like I like to do up in the corner or whatever it may be. And adding that pattern paper is just a fun way to bring other colors and patterns, some more texture to your pre-made cards. Now for my third card, I am using kind of this watercolored card. It has the thanks sentiment on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat that on the front, and I am going to personalize this and add a handmade touch by adding a die cut to the front. So this die is available at Studio Calico. I've gone ahead and cut it out of my favorite gold glitter cardstock, as well as some vellum, and I'm just adding some dots of liquid adhesive along the back of this really intricate die cut, and I'm going to position it onto the lower right hand corner of this card. I'm kind of going to layer these up so I get kind of that shadowed effect that I really like to do. And so once I get that vellum layer positioned, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the gold glitter layer. Now, when I saw this card, it has the blue kind of watercolor, and then the envelope that came with it was like this yellow gold color. And I thought this would be the perfect card to give to my daughter's cheer coach. Their colors happen to be blue and gold, and so that's kind of why I went to the gold direction with this. So once I get those die cuts kind of positioned where I want them, I went ahead and put a block over them and let them kind of set up before I moved on. And now I'm taking some gold glitter die cut hearts. Now you could use sequins in the place of this. I just thought the hearts would be really fun, and they're nice and flat, so it's not something that's going to be really bulky. I did add a couple of them with some foam adhesive, and the rest of them I added with a little bit of liquid adhesive onto the front. This keeps the card design nice and flat, and it also allows me to repeat these elements on the inside of the card. So you see me positioning these here, just kind of, I'm doing this the same kind of idea or the kind of way that I would do sequins on the front. So I'm positioning them the same way I would, but by using these flat die cut gold glitter hearts, I can also add them around the sentiment on the inside of the card, and it kind of ties that in and makes for a fun, unexpected surprise. So the third way to add a handmade touch to your pre-made cards would be to add some die cuts to the front of your card. And of course, you can use pattern paper, coordinating cardstock to cut your die cuts, whatever suits that card that you're using, but it's just another fun way to kind of feel creative and to add a handmade touch really in no time at all. So for the final card, I am going to work with this Sigh card, and it has this really beautiful kind of rose gold foiled sentiment on it. And I thought it would be fun to add a little bit of pattern to this. And so I am going to use this stamp set. This is the balloon and lollipop stamp set. This is from Studio Calico. It's one of the add-ons available for this month. And I'm going to take that round circle stamp there that you can use as a balloon or a lollipop, and I'm just going to use it as polka dots on the front of this card. So I'm going to ink up this stamp with some white pigment ink and just kind of work my way down and kind of add a polka dot pattern across this card. Now, as I was working my way down, I kind of wanted something to go around this sentiment here, but I didn't want to get the white pigment ink. So I'm just taking some more of that Post-it tape and just kind of masking off my sentiment. And then I'll stamp right over that. And that kind of looks like that polka dot is tucked behind that sentiment. And you can see I went ahead and masked off the edge of my paper over there, or my card over there, so I didn't get any of the ink on the back side of the card. Now, for some reason, I don't know if my pigment ink needs to be replaced, but it wasn't really stamping that well. So I went back and just took a little makeup sponge and kind of filled in some of the areas that I was having a little bit of trouble with. I really think this was a problem with my own personal pigment ink, that it maybe hasn't been used in a while, or it's been sitting a little bit too long. But in the end, it all worked out. And you can see when I remove that mask there, I have that really cute polka dot pattern. The back of my card is nice and clean, and my sentiment stayed clean as well. Now, I was looking at this and I wanted to add a little bit more of a sentiment, so I thought I would make this a miss you card. So I'm spelling out miss you once again with my Dymo label maker, and I am going to use some of the pattern papers from the 4x6 pattern paper pad that coordinates with the stationery kit. And I'm just going to kind of create a few little banners and strips of paper. I've layered it up with some vellum as well. I've cut them into various angles and kind of banner shapes on the end, and I am going to layer those all behind that miss you sentiment. So once I get them all positioned, I'm actually going to adhere the pattern paper onto the card front flat, but I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind the sentiment piece. And that'll all just kind of stack up there and go right underneath that side area. Now, I was looking at this and I really felt like it needed that black brought in another area. So I'm taking another smaller circle stamp from that same balloon and lollipop stamp set add-on, and I'm just kind of stamping some smaller black dots. Now, you could use sequins in the place, but I really felt like it needed some more black, and so that completes this card for today. So I just added a little bit of handmade touch there using some stamping. Now, all of these cards are beautiful as they are, but sometimes as paper crafters, we have a little thing where we just need to add our own little twist onto these cards. So you can either use these cards just as they are, or you can take them and add some handmade touches to them to really make them your own. I have some more ideas for adding some handmade touches to these pre-made cards over on my blog at sprinkledwithglitter.com. You can also see more still shots and get links to all the products used in these projects over at my blog, as well as in the description at YouTube. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you have a fabulous day.